Hello there, beautiful people. I'm Tech Teacher Vlad, this is Alpha Tech, and in this video we are going to talk about what is a programming language. And I want you to pay close attention to everything said here because from my experience, this topic, teachers don't give it much value and don't spend enough time on it. And I think that's one of the topics that all of you should be well familiar with. It will help you a lot in the future. So previously we said that the computer actually executes the commands we ask it to. And also we compared this computer to some waiter in a restaurant who simply executed our commands. And that was just an analogy, guys. Don't think that a waiter's profession is just like a computer. I mean, I'm just comparing it so it will be easier for you to understand the material. I also have been working as a waiter in many places for a couple of years, and trust me, that's not an easy job. So let's get back, and one of the main questions that should be asked is in what language should we ask the waiter to bring us this incredible piece of this amazingly delicious chocolate cake? Maybe we should ask for it in English. Something like, hey, could you please give me this amazing chocolate cake? And then the waiter will say, oh yes, of course, here is your amazing cake. And then you're going to be like, wow, that's good. Or should we ask for it in some other language, right? I mean, perhaps we speak different language and we still want this piece of cake. So what language should we use? Maybe we should still use English, maybe we should use Russian, Chinese, Hindi, or maybe even Japanese. Basically, we can use any language, right? We expect that we will be able to use any language to get our cake. Well, it depends. Depends on what? It depends on what language the waiter speaks, and also it depends on what language we're speaking, right? So if we both speak English, I can just tell the waiter to bring me this cake and he will understand and execute directly this command or request. And that's good. If both speak the same language, we do not expect any problems here, right? But what will happen if you and the waiter, you both speak different languages? Suppose you speak only English and the waiter speaks only French. What will you do in such a case? How will you talk to the waiter and ask for your chocolate? In such a case, you should probably ask for some help. You should get in touch with some translator guy that will translate your request or your command from the language you speak to the language of the waiter, the language that the waiter understands. So then the waiter will be able to execute and do exactly as you've asked it to, and that was to bring that yummy piece of cake. And now you can ask basically for anything just by using the help of this translator guy. And now once we've got the idea of how to ask for a chocolate cake, let's talk about the relation of that analogy to actually what it has to do with computers and programming. Alright, so suppose you want to write a simple command that will just display or print a hello world message to your screen, to your display. And once you do so, you basically expect that some magic will happen and that the message of hello world will just somehow appear on your screen. Good. This hello world message is the first step of almost any programmer. So how should you accomplish that? Should you just tell your computer in English, please print to my screen hello world message? Or maybe should you say it in Japanese? Also, what language does the computer even speak? Does it speak Chinese or Japanese, or perhaps it has its own unique language? So for simplicity, let's say that every computer speaks only in one language, and this language will be called machine language. Just like there is an English language, Russian language, and many other languages, there is also a language called machine language. Some other language, okay? Which is just a language that the computers understand, talk, and use. So we, as humans, may speak our own languages, and that's okay. It depends just on where we are from. And meanwhile, the computers speak their own language, called machine language. Is this okay so far? The instructions, the commands in machine language are represented as sequences of just zeros and ones, a binary language or a binary representation it's also called. So some combinations of these zeros and ones may represent to print hello world message to the screen. This 100 and 001 may represent exactly what you need, but just using some other language that you are not so familiar with. But can we humans even speak the machine language? Probably not. The machine language is actually very complicated, and that's why it's recommended to use some translator guy who could make our lives much more easier. We as programmers will write commands in some higher, more readable for us the humans programming language, like the one you're about to learn in this course, okay? This will basically allow you to express commands in a more convenient way than it would be in machine language. And although it will not be pure English or pure French, but still, this language will be much more readable for you. So once you've written your commands or your program in your higher, more readable programming language, we will simply ask the translator guy to translate these commands to machine language. Actually, the guy who does the translation thing from the language we've written to the desired or targeted machine language that the computer understands is called the compiler. And we will talk about compilers, maybe not a lot in this course, but in the next courses, in the more advanced courses, we will use it a lot. And once you've used this compiler, the computer will actually know what you wanted it to do, and it will execute your commands and display a hello world message to the screen. So to summarize it even more, you know how the process of executing commands starts with your higher level programming language, proceeds with some translation to the machine language, and then your computer doing that in practice, what you asked it to, executing the actual things you wanted it to execute. So I hope this makes clear, guys. It's a very important topic, and now I think you're ready to move on to your first program. Congratulations, you've made it so far. And I'll see you in the next chapter. Goodbye.